I'm Tamika Payne, an internationally recognized expert in reducing gender-based violence, particularly sexual violence, and I am a Spartan.
With more than 20 years of experience, including 11 years of international work, Payne has dedicated her life to ending gender-based violence globally. To her, it's more than a career, it's her calling.
Back when I was attending Lyman Briggs, I was one in a handful of Black students throughout a career focused on ending sexual violence and nonprofit executive leadership. That means my work was, and still is, about more than changing social and cultural norms. It's about being visible. It's about working at a level where I can be seen by others who, like me, for whatever reason, do not see themselves represented in their chosen fields. Striving for equality in our society is not about gender or racial equity in isolation. It's about how we and our organizations and institutions incorporate intersectionality. We must see a whole person, not just gender or race, but also age, ability, religion, culture, because the whole person, not just their main demographic indicator, needs and deserves adequate services. Witnessing, along with my personal experiences of gender-based violence, it felt wrong to do anything less than work to make a difference.
Payne works on the global stage, previously serving the United Nations as the Global Coordinator for Gender-Based Violence in Humanitarian Settings. There, she developed international strategy and guidance on how the UN, non-governmental agencies, and government partners should conduct community-based interventions, protecting even the most vulnerable in communities. To do that, her work always starts with engaging and understanding the uniqueness of each community, each country she enters.
It's far too easy to rest on assumptions and our own social norms, which is implicit bias in action, and to not uncover what a community or organization truly needs. As an example, I was working in Sierra Leone, a small, beautiful West African country, on a project to eradicate female genital mutilation, or cutting. My initial response, like most Westerners, was, "This is horrific and it needs to stop." As Westerners, like the UN, large NGOs, we drove to end this brutal, barbaric act. But they didn't stop to hear more than the act of genital cutting itself. They didn't hear or understand the cultural significance of everything else that surrounded the act of genital cutting. Well, the consequence was that interventions widely adopted and globally funded were pushing the actual act of genital cutting underground. It was being perpetrated on younger and younger prepubescent girls and was stripping women of one of the limited opportunities to have power, money, and influence in their communities. After conducting research and learning from women all over the country, we developed a theory of change and training materials with members of the community, from regular citizens to village chiefs and other community leaders. What was developed wouldn't destroy the access to power and influence of women's secret societies in their communities. It would, however, reduce the act of genital cutting and allow girls to remain safe. In one community, the spiritual leader of the Women's Secret Society, called a Soe, chose to end cutting and put down her knife. The mask that the Soe wears during the festivities surrounding the ritual is created from wood that is found on a spiritual journey and is seen as the physical and spiritual manifestation of God. And one is on display in my home.
Addressing societal ills and pushing for institutional change is challenging work. To those looking to make a difference, Payne has some advice.
First, you need to consider how to engage in systems and social and cultural norms change. Know that it can and must look different depending on your approach and the action you'll take. Be flexible and realistic in what can be achieved while still being aspirational. Nothing changes right away, so be mindful to maintain your energy. Be intentional about where you push for change because that will affect the breadth of your impact. The second thing is gathering allies. Teaching allies how to step up and asking them to become accomplices in the pursuit of equality. To achieve gender and racial equity, we need people in positions of social power to speak up and take the risk that until recently have only been taken by those victimized by systemic oppression. So, in ending sexual violence and gender equality, we need men. In the struggle for racial justice, we need those with white skin privilege. Everyone needs to use the privilege they have to push us towards equity. In the end, it's about action, understanding all the risk, taking action, protecting each other, and importantly, never giving up. Who will change the world? Spartans will.